Chers artistes, le show est sur le point de commencer.
Allez.
So cool that you came all the way from Germany.
Well, there's a speech to be written and a wedding to attend. How could I not be here? Also, I really missed you guys. Don't be so naive. You always think the best of people. It's like you're living in a dream world, love. It's not a secret that Mikkel is providing for you. Und ich werde dir niemals verzeihen, dass du vor 2 Jahren Mama verraten hast, dass ich nicht zu ihrer Hochzeit kommen wollte. Max, hör auf. Ich liebe dich auch. Ich leg jetzt auf, okay? Ich auch nicht ohne dich. Do you trust Mikkel?
Of course I trust him.
You've been so naive for so many years, Sina. But good for you that you trust Stephanie.
Monsieur Rouge nous presse d'y aller.
Je sais, mais c'est compliqué maintenant avec la vague de la main.
Bienvenue à la maison.
Petit cadeau pour toi.
Wow, magnifique.
Je suis magnifique.
Merci. C'est juste un peu stressant en ce moment. On veut que tout se passe parfaitement.
Ça commence, bordel. Alice. Alice.
Wenn ich die Zeit zurückdrehen könnte, würde ich es machen. Aber jetzt geht's nicht mehr.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode on Angela Petit Presents. I have a special guest from Germany. She's an actress, writer, voiceover, creator, and also she does a mindfulness coach. Her name is Lisa Riesner. All right, let's learn more about her. Hey, beautiful girl. How are you?
Oh, thank you so much. I'm so good. How are you?
Thank you so much, Lisa, for being my show. It's an honor. So, Lisa, you're an actress, writer, voiceover, and creator. But not only that, you do also mindfulness, meditation, and yoga coaching.
Yes.
Fantastic. And this is something we will be discussing in the further interview. And also, for those people who are in this interview, in this our audience, Lisa has been, she was the Best Actress in New York Audience Films Award in 2022, Best Actress in Cannes Festival in Berlin, and also the Best Actress, in Paris Film Awards. And also you attend the Cannes Festival. What a wonderful experience. And this is how I find you and with connecting with friends that we have in common. And thank you so much. It's an honor again.
Exactly. I also found you, I think. So.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much. And I was reading about that, but you have a background as a journalist and rhetoric, and you made a career in Brussels. Can you tell us that experience as a journalist back in the day?
Yes, of course, back in the day. I was studying in the bachelor rhetorics and speech and journalism and communication and media science. And I always wanted to be a writer. So when I was really young, I wanted to write stories, and then I got some scholarships for some TV workshops and programs, and we invented little trailers, and then I was speaking a bit in front of the camera, moderating things, and then I was kind of like clinging to the writing. And I started to write for my newspaper back in my home in Fellbach, in this little village close to Stuttgart. And I did an internship there. And I did other internships far away, like in Hamburg, and then 8 hours from my home away in the north, and then in many other cities. And then I actually decided to apply for Brussels, for Süddeutsche Zeitung, a really big southern newspaper. And I got this, like it's like an internship where you already write your own articles, and I published a lot of articles and worked there. And it was a coincidence because the boss back in the day just hired me, and normally you have to go through a process, but because they have their own office and was really big, and I was just lucky, I guess. Yeah, and then I was there in the European Parliament for almost 6 months, and writing articles about the laws, you know, and about the political situation. And I just realized it's a lot of sitting and writing, and it is very interesting, and you get to see all the big politicians, and I understood a lot about the dynamics in politics, and also how hard it is to make peace, to keep peace, to find peace. I was very, very touched by what I've seen, experienced, and also sometimes shocked. You know, there's a lot of lobbyism going on and stuff like that. So I decided for myself, I can't do this. Like, I can't do this job. It's too much sitting, too much laptop, too much solo work, a lot of time pressure. And yes, I also was kind of like, you know, thinking of something where I can really like live my purpose and speak from the heart. And that's shortly after when I discovered acting. Actually, there was the path in between, because then first the mindfulness started, and actually the travel back home to myself, to my soul, to my breath, to my body, through yoga, dance, and meditation. And then came the acting.
Awesome. This is, you know, how connect one thing, something that come naturally from you, like the writing skills, because this is difficult skill. It's like a gift. Like, if, for example, this is something I'm looking forward to improve myself, because I'm an average person in writing, to be honest. But I admire people like you having that skills. But after you experience to be a journalist, even it was not you dream of the job that you want to be, but at the end help you to improve your skills, which is something you're implementing now as in the film industry. And
totally, it's almost like, you know, Angela, it's almost like everything makes sense now.
Yes,
because
exactly.
Throughout the journey, I have been questioning, and I've been like, oh my God, why I have been sticking to this profession for so long, and I never question it. And it's kind of like I woke up at some point and I was like, I have to question my dream that I had when I was 13 or 15. And now it makes sense because I'm writing again. But I have to tell you, I went through a lot because I had a blockage after the newspaper experience and being a journalist. I said, like, I'm not going to write again, because there was a lot of like, I was young. I was very, very young, like just 20 something. And then a lot of people criticized my writing. There was a lot of critique coming. And back then, it was hard for me sometimes to handle that, you know, and also all the politics, everything that I experienced there, things I didn't like that I saw. Yes. About how the world works sometimes, you know. Yes. And then I actually didn't write for a long time, and just I'm just back writing since the pandemic. As for many people, the pandemic was kind of something where you can sit with yourself and be like, okay, what's my dream? What do I want to do? There's boredom, and then out of boredom, there comes a story, you know? Exactly. No, but even that, to be in front of the camera, to be able to write something like a politics, even if now you're realizing that the politics, you start discovering there's a lot of things that maybe you're not agree, because you have the, I want to call the privilege, not the privilege, but you have the advantage to be able to discover that world. Nowadays, they can help you that experience to create stories, you know, because you live that. You live that experience. Yes. And you know, it's funny because now I'm 30, but I've done a lot, as you can see. It feels like I had many lives. So I'm taking everything from my life experience when I'm writing. screenplays. I write my own films, and then I add with my fantasy. And also
Exactly.
this, I just want to encourage every young writer or also old writers, anyone who wants to write. When I was in school, I was writing and I was really good, like in German was the subject, you know, and I had good grades. But my teacher, I remember one critique of my teacher, he said like, you didn't dare to really, because we had this this opportunity to write a story from a book from Kafka and to write it differently. And I wrote, and he said like, you didn't dare, Lisa, to go all the way, to use your whole fantasy to make up something really big and maybe scary or, you know, funny. And this stick to me a long time. And I was, as a question, I was like, how can I do it? How can I access this part of me that's dreaming wild and having a big fantasy and imagining things that are not possible on the first glance in real life, you know, and that are maybe titled as crazy or something. And that is kind of where I went also when I studied acting, because you have to go all the way to like jump into a character and everything. So I experienced it first from the acting side, and I think then came the wholeness of putting it back to writing, because when you write, you also kind of go into the characters and go into the story. And now I dare to make up the craziest stories and things, you know?
Yes, you remind me something about me, that English is my second language, like same thing like you. My native language is Spanish. And
Yes.
I have how can it's challenges that have to deal since I moved to United States. Even I was born in California, United States, but I was raised in Monterrey, Mexico, because my parents are Mexicans as well. And I receive a lot of rejections and bullying from people, even from the professional work experience years before. And I remember once one of the supervisors that I had, I'm speaking about 15 years ago, I will never forget that. She gave me a write-up because of my speech skills, English skills, of course, and writing skills. And she told me, you are not going to go anywhere because your English is terrible. And I was thinking that the best thing for me to be able to overcome that issue in my life, because back in the day, I was not able to communicate well. It was more difficult for me to communicate, because like you said, when people tell you those things, they stick in your mind, and it's more difficult to develop, you know, to grow yourself. And then I started with volunteer work, helping people in the music industry, independent music industry, television industry, independent is in same thing for the film industry. But I would start thinking, okay, the best thing for me to encourage myself is not be too close people from my local area, even United States, because most people in the United States speak Spanish. And I was thinking, let me try when United Kingdom. I'm gonna feel more effort. I'm gonna push myself. Yeah. And now when I received an invite from Martina from Radio Lumini year and a half ago, she asked me, oh, I would love for you to be one of my radio hosts. And I was, no, Martina, it's impossible. My English skills is terrible. And she says, you're gonna make it. You're gonna make it. Believe me, the first time, I don't know if I was speaking English. I was speaking alien language. I don't know what language I was speaking. Sounds funny. I was not feel secure, not confident in myself. But you know, it's like you start pushing yourself and you put in your own goals. And now I have this podcast. I know I have an accent. I know that, but I'm, you know, working every day to improve myself. So you remind my experience.
Oh, and I love your accent. And I think
thank you likewise.
Perfect. And it's just beautiful. And I love that you have it because it makes you, you know, it makes you yourself.
And I'm thinking those people who, label you or label people like they are not they're not gonna make it, or they are, if they want to call losers, whatever, I'm thinking they're calling by them from their experience about themselves. They want to, you know, to throw all the negativity to others because they cannot overcome their frustrations. That's my conclusion.
Sorry, I interrupted you.
No, it's okay. It's okay.
It's I think, you know, it's not as easy when you start off the journey of following your dreams and believing in yourself. It does not appear easy. And I can remember, for example, my parents often, I felt disencouraged by my parents when I wanted to achieve something because they were like, oh, you can't make that, it's too expensive or that's too difficult. I don't think you have a talent. Sometimes they said that, but to protect me, I understood that back then, you know, like looking back, I understand, to protect me. And also because they made experiences that were very painful and they don't want you to make those. But when you cross this border, and sometimes it takes some years, but that's why I do coaching myself. I get coached for my mindset and I coach people for mindset because you can get faster. You can get over these blockages and use it as a motivation so that when someone tells you you can't make it, that you can say, I will make it. And thank
Exactly.
you. And, you know, and maybe you even take them along and you give them a hand and say, and you will make it too. And we can make it together. And I will help you because I guess you also have a dream that you stopped believing in. So I will help you too. And I think this is like, the bigger your heart is and the more people you can take with you, the better, you know?
Exactly. Exactly. Yes. On my side, my mom, she always support me. She always told me, nothing is impossible. You can make it. The more you practice and it is your dream, go for it. And she always says, everybody have that accent. Don't feel bad because you have an accent. Just to move forward and move forward, move to the front. Was my mom. Thanks to Lord, I have a big support from my mom. I have no complaints. Is the opposite. She has been my best friend and my great support. And thanks to her also and my husband. This dream is now is I'm living my dream now, having this podcast and moving forward for more things.
Yeah,
like
that's
yes.
amazing. You made that happen for yourself. Congratulations.
Thank you. Likewise, and like you. And what about you? You says in your biography that you're inventing a writing skills. What do you mean about that?
I think what I meant was just that I'm working on it constantly, you know?
Ah, okay,
Like
okay.
that I keep working on it, that I keep writing. I keep having other people like looking over my writings, although it's really, really scary to have
Yes.
other people look at it. Or when I do a screenplay, of course, I have a co-writer. And sometimes it's also about, you know, mental support for the co-writer to support you and to be like, of course you can write this, or yeah, go this direction, or just to look over it and add their ideas. But of course, it's one of my dreams to become even more, you know, everything happens and does not happen with confidence. And I had a picture that people want to keep me small. And then I want to change, I want to transform this picture because I don't think it's true, because it would be based on an imagination that people are bad and they want bad of you. And I don't think that. So I want to transform it because that's maybe more, you know, a part of me who thinks that was maybe young and had trouble in life. So I want to transform it and be like, everybody wants to help me to the extent that they can. And whatever they can't, I will, for example, book a coach to help me, or I will take a walk on the beach, or I will take a walk in a forest to center my mind to reach the goals that I want to reach, without having anyone next to me saying you can make it, because maybe they just can't because they don't believe it themselves yet, which is not a bad thing.
Yes, I agree with you. And you graduated for the Checkhov Institute in Berlin. So you were a journalist, mindfulness, coaching, and then you decided to be an actress. And how was your experience working at theaters and TV? And because you study acting career, but also you work at the same time. How was your challenge to be to work and be a student at the same time? How was your challenge for that?
Okay, so I'm finished with my studies. I did my exam in acting 1.5 years ago. I finished my studies and I got my exam. It's almost 4 years I studied acting, but I was working while I was studying, but mostly not as an actress, because for me, the acting profession was completely new. And my school also told me, no, don't work as an actress. That's not, it was funny. My school told me, don't do that. And I was like, oh, okay, I'm not going to do that. And then I saw other people, other students from my school, and they already worked as actors. So I got really confused. And in the end, nowadays I would be smarter and would be just listen to yourself. If you want to do it, then just do it. But I worked as a coach already, as a life coach for mindset, to give people a better mindset. And I did also some waitressing here and there, just to finance my studies, because acting studies is a full-time study, Monday to Sunday, and it's quite expensive, and it needs to be financed. But I also had scholarships, so I'm very grateful for that. But then after my studies, I right away went into work. I was booked for one theater in the south of Germany. Now I'm booked for a theater in Berlin. It's called the Globe Berlin, like the Globe in London, a Shakespeare theater. And then I do a lot of commercials. I do a lot of short films. I have had my first feature film castings, like cinema movie castings, and some first TV castings and stuff. But it's really, I'm just there for 1.5 years. So you gotta create when you start off. You gotta create pictures, a website. You have to have an agency. So it's a process,
Yes. But you see all these adventure and trajectory that you pass through, journalist, waitress, and coaching, and all these things, how these combine as a combo, and it's easier for you to feel empathy of the role they assign to you, because you've been experienced so many, deal with customer service, especially like a waitress. You have to deal with angry customer service and all type of clients. I tell you this because I had experience a cashier a store, and it's kind of similar. That I have to deal with all type of people, and some people, they throw the money to your face and they get pissed, and you have to smile. You have to be enacting, and it's okay. So I can imagine. But anyways, those things help us to develop, many skills to improve ourselves and build confidence.
I always tell my clients when I have acting coaching career clients, I said, one of the practices here in the coaching will be to practice to kindness. And what is true kindness? And it's a question that I sometimes carry with myself. And sometimes kindness will mean you got to step up for yourself. And you got to tell, for example, the company you're working for, if they don't want to pay you right, you got to be very kind and say, look, I've worked for you and we've got a contract, and now I'm awaiting my salary as a respectful full-time working actress, and I'm happy to hear you back. That's kindness. To say it in a kind way, but to be clear and to be straight and to be in the self-esteem. And same time, kindness is to be very kind to people, to say hello, to say how are you, to be on time, to care for them. I have some clients where we start off by, and I think that's a trick that I can give to many actors. They just walk in and they're young and they just want to get a role, but they forget about the people. They're talking to the people that sit in front of them. They don't care. They just care about their role, about if they have all their text going. And then I, as a coach, say, you and also as an actress, you miss half of the game, and that is just to be nice and to be present and to be there and to listen and to have a chit chat with people and be like, how is it, where you're from, and how is your day going,
When I found that you, like you mentioned, you did casting work and deal with with rejection sometimes, like, but how the mindfulness help you to make the clients not feeling too bad, which is wonderful. But you as a person, how you deal yourself at rejection? Do you apply your mindfulness to yourself? You speaking to yourself? Can you tell us more about that experience about you?
Yeah. First, I don't call it rejection because it is never a rejection. Look, it helps a lot to see acting as something very fact-based. That's at least what I try. And sometimes when I'm very desperate, I'm like, oh my God, I really wanted to have this role. Then of course I'm gonna, I'm gonna be like, oh no, and I'm gonna be a little child for 10 minutes in my room at least. And maybe I'm gonna cry, or maybe I'm gonna be disappointed and eat chocolate ice cream or something, Ben & Jerry's, But on the other hand, I tell myself it's not rejection, because fact-based, they were maybe looking for a blonde actress for this role. Something very, and I'm a redhead, and it's just not fitting. And I don't need to color my hair blonde. It might not change because I'm not the type. Like, my type is redhead, and that's what people might look for. Sometimes they look for very practical things. An actress located in London. Then they look for an actress that can work on the 1st of September, and maybe I can't because I already booked for another job. Maybe they look for an actress who also speaks fluent Chinese, and I don't. And all these things that sometimes you can see from a casting request and sometimes not. And sometimes it can be that they are doing a casting, but what happens really often is that you get a role over network. You meet people, for example, at Cannes, and then they like you and they just, offer you a role, and you don't even do the casting. And maybe they had a casting going, but then they see this actress in live in Cannes and they say, like, you are my actress for my movie. And sometimes it's luck, because you meet a director who really has a film going right now. Sometimes a director or a producer is just out of the process of making the film, so now it's about selling the film. So then they won't be interested in this very moment in you as an actress, but they might be for the future. So it's still worth it to reach out and to connect. And I've heard of many actors that's been in the business for longer, that you make the connections and the network so that it stays, and maybe in 5 years they book you. But what I'm trying is really to listen into my heart and to be like, let's let the connection come from an honest place.
Exactly.
And be like, I really want to connect, and that's why I text directors, or I would introduce myself. But if it's not happening in that day, or if the connection is just not there that day because they have other things in mind, then that's how it is, and I just move on.
Exactly. No, it's like a be cast is like a job interview. People were not in the acting business, but even we going to a job interview, if we get a rejection, we feel down. Happens to me every time when I go for interview and I get a rejection. But it's like you said, we need to take in consideration there are so many factors. Does not mean we are not good. It's because they're looking things in specific skills that at that moment we are not able to provide that to them. But does not mean we cannot knock all the doors. Like the same thing for acting. Maybe that role was not specific for that particular person, but that person could be able to gain experience, meet a director, meet people over there, and be able to know, and still knock more doors.
Yeah, and it also, like, always when I don't get roles, I started to be in the beginning when it happened. I was so confused and I was sad and I was like, what should I do? And then I also started to reflect, and I looked at my self-tapes and I was like, oh, the light was not good. Let's be honest. Or my hair was a complete mess. I'm not too perfectionist on that, but because look, I have a day. I've got to pay my rent. So of course, like, I'm doing some coaching. I go to a commercial, and then an email hits me with an e-casting. So I might have 2 hours to do it, or even less, because I'm in the middle of my day. So sometimes I'm washing my hair, it's not totally dry. I try to find a solution. I have to learn 2 pages of text in 1 hour. Okay, so that is the day of an actor in a real day, because most of the actors don't sustain themselves from TV and feature films because it happens that much throughout a month or even a year. Almost none. And that's why if you're not a Hollywood actor, you do more commercials, or you sometimes teach and you coach, and that's how you make your living. But it means when castings come in, and still I have a lot of castings during the week, but I do them during my daytime. So it's really like, oh, there's a casting. Okay, bam, 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 outfit, hair, tack, tack, tack. And sometimes when I have time to look at it after, I can see that it might be a little bit rushed, and I'm still working on that to really find my ground. And I'm very happy about the self-tapes. Actually, I'm one that is kind of happy because I can just do stuff from home now. So I can do a lot more. But of course, you also don't get to see, due to Corona and all the self-tapes that we're doing, the e-castings in German, we call them, we don't see directors anymore. We can't say hello to them. It's all online.
Yes, I can
So
imagine.
there's also a minus side about it, because you can't really say hello and be like, hey, that's me. And they can
No,
feel your
pero sometimes see, they keep your video or something, at least they can. No, normally directors, when they're working in one project, they have more projects in their minds that they want to work in the future. And you never know, they receive a material, they say, okay, that actress or actor is not for this one, I'm thinking maybe for the other one. So it's always good not to stop sending the material, because we never know. At least as long as they receive it and they called you, even if you don't receive the response that you expected, but at least they know, they saw your name, they saw your work, and can be in their future plans, in the future plans.
Totally. And there's one thing I'm wishing for. So I think if we have this podcast, I'm just going to say it because it's something that's very close to my heart. And now I have also an audience to say it. And that is, I studied acting for 4 years. And what I see in the business and the industry happening, and it's almost like it's hard to get out of it, is that often, and I don't say all the time, that actresses and actors get chosen that have a lot of followers, that can invest in the movie with their own money, so they buy themselves into the roles, or that, for example, are models, or and they have like a big follower group, and then I start to. And why do the producers do that, and the directors? Because making a movie is so expensive.
Yes.
So there is a reason for all of these things, but I would just like to challenge that and to see if there's another way. So if I have this, if I have this moment here in a podcast, I just also want to say, please look closer, because, there are people like me who are professional in this profession, who studied this for several years. I know exactly what to do. And the difference between me and another actress is, look, when I saw a scene where, for example, a woman was playing a victim, and she was running. And that's something that we trained a lot in the acting studies. And then it's funny that I see that this model was playing in the video, and she was running, and it was running like this, exaggerated with the body, and panic looking around. And if I'm running because I have fear, I would run straight forward, and I would maybe look back once or twice, and other than that, just run. And I wouldn't move my body like this, and I wouldn't look around, so that's something that, if you get closer to how does it feel to feel fear and what you really do, you would just run, because it's an animal instinct. So that was, for example, something that I saw when I looked at this film. I was like, yeah, I can see that she's a model and she's not trained in acting, but she has a huge follower network, and of course that is selling the film, but it leaves lesser options for real actors. So that's just something I want to take into account. And I don't have the solution yet, because I'm also producing, that, my own movies. I'm also thinking myself, how could we change that? So how can I just take that actor that I think has the skills and the look or whatever it is I'm looking for to do the job. And not that I need him to bring in money or bring him in followers to, you know, do the job. You know, I want to see more real life people.
Yes.
And I want to see more honesty in this business. And I want to like, I want, you know, for example, I can tell you something. Like my own background is that both of my parents were fleeing their home country because there was like, my mom was fleeing from the DDR when the wall was still there, because there was the political situation, there was spies and politicians, and she couldn't study, and you know, they were forced to do a lot of things. And my dad fled from his village because he had a violent history of a family, so he had to flee basically not just the village, you know, also the city and the country, to live somewhere else far away from his father. And that's something I'm interested in, for example, and why I would, if I do a movie, take an actor, because I think you're interesting, your history, your biography is interesting to me. And no one ever asked me that. Can you imagine that no one ever asked me, like, tell me a little bit about yourself, about your history, where you're coming from? So what I do when I write and when I produce a film is that I have the people, because they're mostly friends of me, in mind, or just a vision of that character. And I write a little bit and I don't finish the story. And I start to look for these actors, or to ask the friends that I have anyways in mind. And for example, for my movie with the painter that I did here in Copenhagen, I just had this image, and I wrote this guy in Sweden, this actor. He had amazing, a super good show reel, and then I looked at his Instagram, and he just had pictures with his baby and his wife. But it was heartwarming, and he looked so interesting. So I texted him, and then I didn't text him back because we're in the pre-production. I had so much to do with all the film. And he kept writing me emails. Hey, I'm interested. Hey, what's going on with the project? Are you further? I was so stressed. I was like totally pre-producing all the time. And then I had a moment to sit down, and I was like, I love this man. He keeps texting me. He's interested. He is a professional actor. I looked him up. He's doing it for a really, really long time. He has a family. He has a baby. He said from the beginning, I will support you. I will help you, because I said, look, we're a really small production. We don't have like 20,000 euros. And he said, like, I will do it. And I said, like, okay, that's insane that you will come from Sweden to Copenhagen to help us. And that's kind of the people that I'm looking for. And I would wish for more like that, like ask people about their background, about their, you know, history. And
it's good, based on their background experience, they have more skills. They can be able to develop skills because they live experience, and they can be able to project a role. For example, someone who has been living in a stability economical political system will never understand or feeling with in comparison with someone like you or your parents who experienced that revolution of politics, and there's a role on that particular story. Someone who experienced that will better perform to be able to that role than someone who has not experienced at all.
Yeah, and I just, you know, I want to give you another example, because, and I think now I really like this talk, you know, also to be like, because I'm doing this all the time, and I'm doing like everything that the industry is asking me to do, you know. I'm on all these platforms, and you know, for these platforms you pay a lot of money to be on them, and you know, acting is a really expensive job, because you have to invest so much money to be on platforms that then you can be online, and then directors can see you and stuff like that. But for example, I was taping at home a video for a casting. A casting director was writing out. I taped it, I sent it over right away via WeTransfer with a nice text. She wrote me back yesterday, and she said, only one sentence. It was, can you send it again? And for a moment, I took a breath, and I was like, do I want that? She didn't download it. the link, although with WeTransfer you have 6 days, and she only wrote me, can you send it again? No, hey Lisa, I'm sorry, I didn't download it. Thank you for sending it on time, right after the casting call was out, you know, like, and I'm like, because we're excusing a lot of things that are happening, and because everybody's saying like we don't have time, it's a fast business. And what I'm trying, at least on my corner, is to be like, we don't have time, but as much as I can, I'm gonna try to be super kind. And as much as I can, and to say thank you. It's just 2 words that I need to write. So I was thinking if I should send it, and I haven't made my mind up yet, and maybe I will do it tomorrow, and maybe not, because I don't think that's really fair, because like we're investing time. I did this at home, you know, I recorded it, I edited it at home, I sent it over. So it's a little bit like that's also why I left my other agency, because I've been sending them my stuff, my videos, and they don't download it, and then I feel disrespected because they mess with my time. And then I think many actors, and now I come to the point, and actresses, they are so desperate because they rarely, almost never get jobs or even castings, that they just oversee these things. But what I want to tell every actor and every actress is, you don't have to so if some people treat you like this, it's nothing that you have to accept. You can change your agency or be for a time without one, because it's very nice to be without one, I feel, because I can organize so many jobs for myself on my own. But never give them the right, whomever it is, to disrespect you and your time that you put in, and all the money that you've put in and that you keep putting in. So always be kind, of course. But as I said in the beginning, kindness sometimes is being very straightforward, and this in nice words formulated, but still showing some borders, and because I think this is how we can uplift also our profession that maybe has suffered a little bit and lacked a bit of grace, because there's so many like actors desperate to just, you know, film and really do their job, what they studied, to really do it finally.
Exactly.
And of course, a lot of people that didn't study and also want to be actors and also like kind of are in the industry and want to do it. So there's so many people out there, and that's why sometimes, and I'm like, recently, I have to tell you, I'm also trying to better the payment situation, because that's another topic for me. Because if I look around and I see, like, for long-term projects, and I don't mean 4 days of shoot or something, but really how actors are paid for a commercial, for a TV company, sometimes it's just scary to look at that. And then that's something I also want to stand up for also when I get older, you know, because it feels like I'm just starting off, but there's so many things that I see where I finally have the courage that I didn't maybe have when I was a journalist in that profession, to stand up and say, hey, I don't like this. I don't want this to continue. I would love us to talk about this and to change things.
Exactly. No, but thanks for sharing all these things, because I'm pretty sure that many people will feel connected or identify themselves based on your experience where you're sharing this interview, that I think will help them as well, because they're going to start thinking that it's not my fault, or I'm not the only one experiencing that, the rejections and all these things. And I think this interview is like a lesson for those people who are learning about what is behind about the acting business, castings and all these things.
And let me tell you one thing, because we're here and it's so good. It is, you know, I was in my own film, I was playing Emma. She falls in love with the painter, and I had a wound on my leg from another day. Just, you know, I was outside, and then the makeup artist was like, so wanted to cover it, and that my leg looks perfect. And then one of my friends, she said like, you know, Emma is a real person, a real human being. So why don't she has a little wound on her knee? Because she's just And also then I said like, oh, my nails, my foot are not perfect. I didn't went to the pedicure. And then she said, yeah, but also Emma is a real person. Maybe she doesn't have perfect feet. And I just loved my friend's input. And I think this is another thing where I'm like, we do films and everything has to be perfect. The hair, the skin. And then I see other actresses that are 40 or 45 and they have none wrinkles and they have super white teeth, almost like they never drank a coffee and they never drank tea and they never smoked a cigarette, and maybe some didn't. But I would just also wish for that to change so that I can show up being 30 and not feeling weird because I'm the only one in the room with wrinkles, although there are 40-year-old women and they have none because they just like did some Botox here and some stuff there. And I would just encourage women to really think twice about beauty and about us being a role model.
My white hair.
Exactly.
Yes.
Our gray hair. Of us being role models for young girls of the age of 15 or 10. When they look on the screen, what will they see? And how will they be maybe even traumatized if they see 50-year-old women with this kind of skin?
Yes, I understand what you're saying. Like, yes.
Yeah,
Like me, for example, I was feeling low self-esteem because I'm overweight. I'm not slim, super slim person. What a television is selling or something, whatever the marketing says. But now I'm developed to, to build empathy on myself, and I want to project, like you says, the real human being, not a fake, like make me some body surgery and remove wrinkles and tie my hair and look pretend to be someone that it's not me. So I think as a step by step we can start change that habits of people. Start learning, especially for women, to accept themselves how we are.
It needs to be addressed and needs to be talked about because it's not, because I feel like we are having this conversation and no matter where I look, I don't see this conversation. I saw one article 2 months ago about Kate Winslet, that she was bullied because she put herself nude in a film that she recently did, and she's 50, and people were like, ooh, that's like eye cancer to look at you, you're 50 and naked, that should be a younger woman. And then afterwards she declared that she's not going to put herself naked ever in a movie again. And she's 50, and I'm like, why? And that's the only article that I read in the last 2 months that was about this topic. So I really want to hear more about it. And I also want to hear more from the women that do these things, without judging them or being like, but just like, why are you doing it? Like, what is behind it? Like, girl or woman, tell me about it. Like, what is your wound? Like, what are you experiencing? Why do you think you need to have these white teeth or these like unwrinkled forehead, or so that we understand more. I think we really have to talk about it and understand what are the people going through. And even me, that I'm thinking about it, like, oh, might I be not booked because I look so old, old, which I don't, right? But
like, for example, there's a Mexican, no, she's not from Mexico, I think she's from Ecuador, but she's very famous from Mexico. And Maribel Guardia is and she's 62, 63, very beautiful woman. But she made a decision to remove her hair. She said, I have no hair. She removed her makeup and she showed in reality how she looks like. But when she was makeup, she looks like 30 years old. Yeah. But she says, I'm tired of this fake, this mask. This is me, and I feel proud who I am. And I'm very, I admire her making that decisions and start removing that, how can I say, stick ideas in our minds that we have to pressure ourselves to look perfect for others, but I want to look perfect for myself and accept how I am.
And what I think, sometimes you got to close your eyes. We're looking way too much with our eyes, way too much. but it's about totally different things, also in acting. And
Yes,
now
exactly.
people will think we're not talking about acting, but I mean, we're talking about acting. We're talking about actors creating atmospheres in the space that others can feel and they get like goosebumps. Or we're talking about a scene where there's really love and connection, and two characters from a movie really love each other, and two actors play that really, really well. And that has nothing to do with wrinkles and nothing with hair and nothing with weight. It has something to do with the capacity to step into this emotion and into this relationship. And
Yes.
that is what I want to see, and that is what I'm interested in. And I'm just happy that we talk about it, and you know, this comes to the surface, and this has a space. At least if it's just here like 50 people, then I'm so happy, you know.
Fantastic. And also I was reading that you are a singer. Your singing performance, and you participate with the music department on the movie Hurra for Norge. Can you explain us about of that skill of your
Yes,
music
that's
performance?
my Hurra for Norge. Yeah, it's my first teaser project. So a short film for a long cinema movie, a feature film movie that we're now pitching, by the way, to really big people in Hollywood. I'm so happy. But I'm singing in this movie. I'm singing the last song, and I wrote this song myself.
Beautiful.
And I've been singing all my life in choirs, and I took a lot of singing lessons, and I love to sing. And in my theater play in Berlin, I'm singing several songs. I love to sing.
Send me the MP3 so I can play on my radio shows.
Yes, I can send you a part of it. Yeah, I will do that. Yeah.
Absolutely. And but you're super talented, and also you're a custom designer, and you did that for Don't Shed a Tear and Hurra for Norge. Can you experience how was your experience be able to design that? I think it's something I would like one day be able to do that. It caught my attention a lot.
Just do it, because that was my own movie. So I have to, you know, I believe in myself, and it's my own movie. So I said, I'm going to do it, because since I'm a child, I love clothes. I love to get dressed in different ways. I always did it at home in front of the mirror. I dressed up like, you know, I had these costumes, but also just like very chic, and I just love it. And also here at home, I have a lot of like super beautiful dresses and stuff. I just love to dress up, and I love to, now that I did the costume design, you know, to look into the characters. So to be like, what the painter wear? What kind of character is he? And what would Emma wear? Emma, my character in the film, was a journalist. So I took something from her life and I wrote it. And she would dress up very, you know, with a lot of style and a lot of grace. So with cream colors and with dark green and earth colors, and yeah, to just think about it was just amazing, and to make it real and find those clothes or change little things about the clothes. But it's mostly about the opportunity, you know, because I do believe in myself, and I don't think too much about myself, but more about the idea that I have and about. So I have the idea of the film, so I want to do it. I want to produce it. How can I produce it? I want to do the costumes, so I go into this thing of like, you know, how could the character look? What could he be like? The colors. And I forget myself in this process. I don't remember in this very moment, I'm Lisa and I'm doing this. I'm just doing it for fun. And then a product comes out of it, and we have the outfits and we have the film in the end. But it's about the experience. And I think that it's something of being like a child. Children are the same. They have an idea and then they just do it. They cook something, and it tastes horrible probably when a child cooks something and it doesn't have a recipe, it just doesn't taste good. But it was so much fun, and they eat it anyways after, you know?
Exactly.
And it's just a lot of like, but if you get older, you understand more, and you understand that the things you can do, they can actually taste well and stuff like this if you use a recipe or you just cook more.
Exactly. No, that's true. Like, I think for every artist, doesn't matter what discipline they perform, they have a child inside. You have to be a kid, like you said, to be a creator, because it's like a human divinity that can be able to project the creation talent, you know, to make it alive, physical. That's what I'm thinking.
But I just want to encourage everyone to, a lot of my clients or a lot of people that I saw in my acting school and also myself, we go through a lot until we come out at the other side where we can just be children and just play and deal with excitement before the shoot and that we can play authentically and from the heart. It takes a long time. It took me 4 years to be able to do this of studies and a lot of tears and sweat and blood, how you say. And when I go with my clients and I can see they did some workshops or they did the first year of acting school, but then they stopped. And you know why? Because it's really hard. It's really hard. And what helps every actor and is also recognition. So what helped me to come out at the other side is to find a really good teacher that really cares about you and really loves you in a way of like a parent or just a good teacher who can send out love to you and you can receive the love, because you need that on the way, because you are working on yourself in such a deep level. You're changing everything. For example, an actor, dear, can put a Spanish accent, but he can also not do it. So probably it's a native Spanish person, but trained off the accent, so can speak English without an accent, but when they ask her or him to do it, they can put it on. That's a lot of work.
Yeah, I can imagine.
To be able to, that's, I would say, a year or an intensive half a year of speech training to be able to do that. And there's many things like this. There's many people in my school that had an accent or had like an S problem or things like that, that they worked on really long, and it was very painful and a lot of tears. And now they are amazing actors and they made it through, of course, you know, but they had teachers that really loved and encouraged them. And they said like, you can do it. And I know it's hard. Today was a hard day, but you can do it. And they had a lot of good friends around that also supported them and be like, hey, you need a hug. I just don't want to think people, you know, I just don't want to people to think that actors just be born like children and they can just do everything and just they're just funny. Not many are.
It's a lot of work.
Not,
a lot of things about
there are some that are really like childs from you know, from a different planet somehow, but they have other things they have to work on. They're maybe not on time, or they're not kind enough sometimes. Like, you know, that's look closer and you will see for everyone there's a lot of work to do.
Exactly. And what about there's 2 projects that you're working on? The one is Across to Marriage, and it's a short film, is already complete, and the Alice, their film.
Alice was my first film. It was my first own film that I also directed, and I wrote it, and I got all these awards for Best Actress. I got for Alice, and I did it with an amazing filmmaker that's also an actor and plays with me and Shakespeare in the play.
Awesome. Fantastic. And what about the upcoming projects, if you are able to share? Because I know sometimes people, they cannot say too much, but do you have any projects that you want to share on this interview that you're working on?
So as a producer, I'm pitching right now both of my movies I did in Scandinavia, in Oslo and Copenhagen. That's Hurra for Norge and Don't Shed a Tear. I'm pitching them to production companies, and so soon there should be a feature film if we're lucky in production planning, so cross fingers for that. As an actress, I just did a feature film casting, and I have some more coming, and I also do a lot of commercials, and I'm now changing my agencies, which already happened. I have like a Spanish agency, 2 management, and I have probably soon a German and a British, but I can say at this point. But I will continue also to work as a coach and support other people, because that's, you know, that's half of the game, to help others. And of course there are some plans for like more movies, but making a movie, my dear, is a lot of work.
Yes.
So I'm just reflecting which idea is worth to be working on for half a year or something. That's how long it takes mostly, or even longer. And there are some, but yeah, and you know, it is as an actor, you also are a human being, and as a human being, I'm like thinking about building my life and living in a nice flat and like changing my room and these kind of things, you know, like that's also very crucial in my life. And it's
Fantastic, fantastic.
yeah,
You
and being with
know,
my boyfriend and stuff like that is so, it's the best thing in the world after all.
fantastic, fantastic. I just came an idea yesterday, and I to do interview with you and Natasha Rosmills. I think I introduced her to you. I think like a month ago. She does mindfulness. She does yoga. Same thing where you do. She's from United Kingdom. She's from UK.
Yes, I remember.
What do you think? What do you think if I make a interview with both of you, just focusing about mindfulness and the acting business?
I would love that, and I think it would be very rewarding for the listeners. Very much. Yeah.
Yes. Next week, or yeah, like Monday at the best time, so I can make a chat group with both of you together to make arrangements. So just focusing mindfulness
I think that's
and
very
acting and her experience, your experience, and for people to start learning about what is how to deal with rejection. How to deal with all these challenges as an actor and actresses, and for people start removing a lot of fixed ideas, thinking that you have to be perfect, or it's an easy career, this who you know is, and blah, 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 blah. But in reality, what is behind? What is both of you have lived in a lot of challenges in that particular business, and that's the reason why she developed and she same as you, that she trained and she dedicated. She's working so hard on that business as her passion, like yours, and also combining the cultures, because but you are from Germany, you are connecting people from United Kingdom, same as me and as her, and if she's from United Kingdom, and but at the same time, start getting together and share to the audience. What do you think about that?
I love that. Let's do it.
Awesome. Yes. And the last question is, what advice you can give to those people who wants to reach their dreams in the film industry?
I'm gonna give 3 advices. And I know I've said it before, but the first one is to be really, really kind. Come with kindness wherever you go, because that's a door opener. And the second one is to be up and ready for change and development, and to not stop on half of the way, but to find trusted teachers and people, and you go through the change, through the things you need to do, whether it's like, you know, physical training or acting training or becoming more conscious and mindfulness, whatever it is that you have to do, or speech training if you have problems with that, or there's a lot you can learn. So this commitment and this willingness to learn, and to be, third one and last one, really curious, and to stay curious. So if someone writes you, I can't take you, stay curious, maybe ask, hey, why? And then they will just say, because we're looking for someone who's 180. But also staying curious about, like, what is this business about, and never making assumptions as far as you can. Because then you keep this childish mindset that we've been talking about. And that is, I think that is the thing that will walk you through and make you successful and reach all your dreams that you always wanted.
Fantastic. No, thank you so much. Thank you, Lisa, for being my show. It's an honor. Looking forward to for the interview with Natasha Rosmills. I told her about you, and she's looking forward for that as well. So yes, let's organize it and start, you know, to inspire and motivate others, but also for other people to learn what's the realistic behind, and for them to, you know, to be aware what they're gonna what they're gonna see at the time they made the decision to be an actress and actress, or doesn't matter with any field for the film industry. That is, it's not an easy career, but it's not impossible. The consistency, the courage, and believe in ourselves is the key to reach any goal.
Oh yes, my dear. Oh yes.
So fantastic. So thank you so much, Lisa, and I will keep you posted. On Monday, I will make a chat group and with Natasha, and then we can make arrangements. I cannot wait to focus in mindfulness and the acting business.
Let's do it. Have a great day.
You too. Thank you, my friend. We'll see you soon. Take care. Bye-bye.
We are diamonds in the shadows, trying to find our way back home. We are diamonds in the shadows, rage on, stronger, harder, never go. Rage on, stronger, harder, never go. Rage on, stronger, harder, never go. Rage on, rage on, rage on, rage on, rage on. They build you up to break it down. Watch your eyes to see you fall. Love to smile.